give credit where credit is due because it's easy to be upset about what happened. Of course, I'm upset about what happened. I hate that Parker Romo missed that time PAT because, in my opinion, the game probably would have gone to overtime. But the Falcons lost that game on their last drive. I mean, the number one issue that most people probably are noticing by what I'm noticing that when they're in moments where they have to have a sense of urgency, they're taking this 30 seconds to snap the next play, right? Uh, Raheem Morris' thought process was probably, I want to burn the clock down to the 2-minute warning. But you got to understand, you have a team that makes a lot of mistakes in clutch situations, right? Talking about, the intention around and not, understanding that Bijan Robinson was a better target to throw at his foot. It wouldn't have been grounded, but he threw back across his body. Kyle Pitts wasn't even aware. Uh, and that was just horrible to lose that down there. And you're talking about you had a, second and 2 or 3 or 4 or something like that. And you pick up an intentional ground and penalty, and now it's 3rd and 20, right? And a lot of folks may say, well, they should have gone for it in that situation. But if you think about it, I mean, that was a horrible spot to go for due to the fact that if you don't get it, either way it goes, in my opinion, the game was probably once the Atlanta Falcons gave the ball back. But the fact of the matter is, like I said, poor time management, right, on that last drive. And, of course, that ain't excusing Parker Romo's missed PAT. I mean, and to me, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised one bit. I kind of, not going to say I saw it happening, but I just wasn't surprised. I mean, that's just something that we see, right? Something that we understand this guy's been missing. Clutch kicks, field goals, has missed 2 big PATs. And it hurt the team today, right? But like I said, it didn't 100% hurt the team. All I know is on that last drive, the Atlanta Falcons handled the clock terribly. Very poor time management. Like I said, they were taking at least 30 seconds between snaps. And like I said, it's already 4 and under 4 minutes. It's supposed to be a 2-minute drill. Like I said, and then it started, I think that the first 2 snaps of that drive, Bijan did pick up a first down. But I mean, in that situation, you have to come out throwing the football. The goal is to get the ball downfield in that situation, in a fast manner, And don't get me wrong, I love Bijan as a player. It's not Bijan's fault they made those play calls, but I think that was terrible. I think you put that ball in the air. But for the most part in the second half, the Atlanta Falcons played well. They literally only gave up 3 points in the second half. They did much better against the run in the second half, and the defense got off the field. I mean, they played a almost perfect second half. I mean, and like I said, it hurts the fact that Parker Romo missed that PAT. But just looking at a positive, Drake London climbed the ladder today, man. We had 9-5 going on. I just think him and Michael Penix were great today. Penix went 22 of 37, 222 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Bijan Robinson had an uncommon day again on the ground. 12 rush for 5 yards, Penix 2 for 19. Did have the big run to pick up a first down. And I think that would be more helpful saying Michael Penix, maybe open up and run the ball a little bit more. Situation like that can avoid having to pick up unnecessary intentional grounders. I don't think you would have gotten anywhere on that particular situation with the intentional grounder because the pocket was kind of corralled. Didn't really have anywhere to go but back out, and maybe trying to find a crease outside or something. Tyler Algier, 2 rush for 6 yards. Drake London went 9 for 19, 3 touchdowns. Bijan Robinson at 8 for 50. Kyle Pitts, 4 for 38. Had that big drop on 3rd down. Darnell Mooney, 1 for 15. And like I said, in the second half, the defense played well. We got a lot of pressure on the quarterback, which was, in my opinion, excellent. So I think we had, was 4, 6. The Atlanta Falcons actually had 6 today. So that was pretty good. Laquel London had 2. Jalen Walker had 2 with, of course, the big script sack that resulted in James Pierce fumble recovery and touchdown after that. Like I said, also Brandon Doyle had 2 sacks. So the interior guys got a lot of pressure today. They were much better against the run against Travion Henderson. They also did a good job of keeping Drake May in the pocket, being able to get pressure on him in the second half. Shout out to Jeff Ulbrich for that. And I will say this too, today, Zach Robinson was a little bit better in play calling. It's still terrible game at clock management. There's still situations where, that could be better. There were more also situations where, like a halftime show, Michael Penix Jr. could have put balls right on guys. I do the fact that he's high pointing the ball to Drake London, also to Kyle Pitts, and those guys are able to go up and get the football. I think that was an incredible catch by Bijan on that third down situation against the DB, where the DB actually knocked the ball loose, but Bijan couldn't call it, picked up a first down, which led to that touchdown where Parker Romo missed the PAT. But for the most part, like I said, my hat goes off to the second half, how they made adjustments, only gave up 3 points to a high-powered offense. But on the Patriots side, Drake May, 19 for 29, 259 yards, 2 touchdowns. It was good to see Jesse Bates get an interception today. Come on back to the party. Travion Henderson, 14 for 55, which is pretty good for our defense. In that situation, Terrell Jennings, 11 for 35, Drake May, 8 for 20. We still gave up over 100 yards rushing, which was key for the Patriots in moving the ball, setting up the play action. Demario Douglas, 4 receptions for 100 yards. He averaged 25 yards a reception. Hunter Henry, 4 for 51. Stephon Diggs, 3 for 38, but they were like big situational catches. Henderson, 4 for 32. Austin Hooper, 1 for 20. Terrell Jennings, 1 for 9. Matt Hollins had 2 for 9. They did have Caleb Von Chase had a sack. Offensive line only gave up 1 sack today, which is pretty awesome. I also think they were pretty good in the special teams today, making good tackles on punt team, especially not giving up a lot of yards on kick return. So the Atlanta Falcons they played about 70% of a game today, right? And it sucks that they're 3-5. Their schedule is favorable after they play the Colts. I think it's going to be tough going up against Jonathan Taylor and Daniel Jones with their rushing abilities next week. The Colts have been a high-powered team this year, forceful on defense. But the fact of the matter is they have to find a way to win this game in Berlin, right? You're talking about keeping your playoff hopes alive. You fall to 3-6. We're talking about drafting in the top 10 again at this point, and it just, like I said, it hurts to see it because the Atlanta Falcons actually fought in the second half today, right? Not sure about what happens with Raheem Morris and his job at this point. This could be potential grounders for firing. I think the coach is a little bit better today. Like I said, still questioning, and of course fans are going to look at it, 3-5, and I get it, right? I understand, due to the fact that last year we started 6-3. So, and the thing is, the players got better. I mean, the defensive players got better. They got out physical at first drive, several spurts throughout the second quarter, right? But for the most part, guys, they were pretty sound today, right? And we can't be upset with the effort that we saw, man. So that's the big thing. How do they move on from this, right? Where do you go from here? How can you be better in situational football? What things could you do to be better from this week, right? And Parker Romo, this may be grounds for waiving, right? Who knows? But at the same time, like I said, they were much better as a unit today, right? And like I said, we were 6 pressures, 6 sacks total. And like I said, Jalen Walker was forced today, man. He was everywhere. Like I said, a couple big. I think he had a 1.5 sack, if I'm not mistaken. So I think they might have had 7. I could be wrong, but it could have been because I know Jalen had at least 1 on that script sack, right? But James Pierce recovered the fumble and ran it down inside the 5. But he was a force today on that third down situation where the Falcons got the ball back, got his hands on the ball in that short swing route. Not sure if it was a screen or what the case was. But like I said, he was able to make that big play that put the Falcons in prime position to get that ball back and score. But the fact of it is, like we said, they're going to Berlin next Sunday. They're going to be at 9:30 a.m. Of course, overseas games. Got a tough team they're going to be going up against, but we know historically, I think the Falcons played 2 times overseas and they won both games. I think both were actually against the New York Jets. But after that Colts game, they pretty much have a favorable schedule, right? Like I say, still got Tampa again. I said earlier, they still have 4 total division games left. 1 left against the Buccaneers and 2 against the Saints. They do have the Seahawks, which is going to always be a game. And they have the Rams down the stretch as well. So with them having all the division games they have, the Falcons got to clamp down and win. I mean, you're talking about putting yourself in a position to have 6 or 7 games at this point to put yourself in a prime position to where if it comes down to week 18 or week 17, that you need one win to clinch or clinch a wild card berth, right? But right now with this position, it puts us at the bottom of the barrel, right? And today wasn't even a horrible performance overall. It's just the way they finished. That last drive was kind of pissed off because of the clock. I think the clock management ruined the momentum. They're taking too long to snap the ball in between plays, and a situation where they have to go fast. So at the end of the day, 5 is who they are. How do they move on from this? Like, where do they go from here? What changes are going to be made? How are you going to, get Bijan Robinson back on track running the ball? At the end of the day, it's like they're like imbalanced playing. Like, this happens, that happens. They do a lot of things right in the second half, and boom, miss PAT. So I'm not going to be one of the people that try to shut people down for how you feel, because it's real, and at the end of the day, man, they're 3-5 right now. They lost a game that should have been won. They lost a game that probably should have went to overtime. They actually they scored. They won the fourth quarter. The only quarter they were terrible was the second quarter, in my opinion, and parts of the first quarter. But at the end of the day, how do they find a way to win against a tough Jonathan Taylor, Daniel Jones, and a good coach team that's looking really good this year? How do you find a way to go and get this win? How do you find a way to get to 4-5, right? How do you find a way to set yourself up to go on a run? Because, who knows? This coach game basically be the difference maker in between their season. You talking about 3-6. That's very tough to climb out of, right? You're talking about being under 500 halfway through the season. So that's a tough hole to climb out of. Like, where do you go from here, right? In my opinion, in my honest opinion, Raheem Morris could possibly get fired today. If not Raheem Morris, maybe Zach Robinson. And with today was kind of a little bit better for both those guys. At the same time, it's still the same problems late in games. They didn't finish, right? And you can blame a lot on the coaches, but at the same time, with this play clock situation, it's either the Atlanta Falcons' sense of urgency in the players are being too complacent, or Zach Robinson's taking too long to get these play calls in. There's no reason you should be burning 30 seconds of play clock. Talking about in a situation where you have to go fast, 2-minute drill, right? They're burning too much time in between these plays when they are down, right? I think if they manage their time better, I think they actually come out on top of this game. And also, if you go back to the situation, Parker Romo missing the PAT, what if he makes that PAT, they get that ball back? Now they can be a little conservative, right? You can afford to be conservative. You want to set yourself up to make mistakes, right? To get a false start or get intentional grounding where you were marching down the field. Drake London had just made a beautiful catch. Downfield, right? It was magnificent, right? Well, that might have actually been the drive where they scored, the one prior to that one. But like I said, you were moving the ball, you were on plus side of the field, you were literally, and of course, we know they say his range is 55 yards. I say it would have been better to get that down to under 45 to give yourself a realistic shot with the pressure being on this guy. But like I said, they finished terribly, right? So where do they go from here? How do they recover from this, right? As I said before. But with that being said, I'm going to try to start doing more live videos. Like I said, throughout the week, like I said, I'm busy with a lot of the time with being a teacher and coaching high school football. But like I said, y'all comment down below. Let me know what you think, right? And I understand, y'all, but we got to move on from this. They're 3-5. It's not going to change until they play football again, all right? Y'all be blessed until then. Have a good week. Take care of yourself.